Hello everyone, Scott here, and we're delighted to say that today's video is sponsored by Zavvi, but more on that in a little bit.
Despite the ability to rewatch movies over and over and zoom in on very pristine 4K still images, there are still plenty of tiny details that pass us by. Today's list is in celebration of those real jaw-droppers, and the people who have spotted them over the years. So, big shout out to the movie details subreddit before we begin, as the grey community over there were responsible for catching a huge chunk of these. Great stuff. With that said though, I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 mind-blowing movie details you totally missed. Number 10. Someone New is in Charge, Children of Men. Alfonso Cuarón's 2006 dystopian thriller Children of Men is a bleak and powerful exploration of a world without children. Its thematic content is just as palpable as its technical accomplishments, as its exploration of ideas such as finding hope in a despair-ridden world and being compassionate in a world that literally has no future to look to takes on a new and more somber meaning with every year since its release. The film also excels at world building and demonstrating that the future of 2027, God that's very close isn't it, is very different and worse for wear compared to the year of its release. An example of this difference was noted by viewers on Reddit, in particular of a police officer's helmet early on in the film. Instead of having the Royal Engram's ER on it, the letters instead spell CR. This indicates that Queen Elizabeth has passed on, and that Charles has taken on monarchical duties in this timeline, a fact that is supported later on in the movie when audiences are treated to a news headline that reads, "Charles must be thrown out," with thrones spelt like, you know, like a king's throne. It's very smart, very good joke. Number 9, a familiar face. Solo, a Star Wars story. Star Wars' second Disney-era spin-off was a fine, if unremarkable film that somewhat worked despite its myriad of behind-the-scenes issues. As is expected in any Star Wars film, Solo is filled to the brim with a variety of references and details to past Star Wars lore and various other films and media. One of its more intriguing details harkens back to a well-known MacGuffin that marked the beginning of Harrison Ford's other cinematic hero, though. And in Chewbacca's misadventures ultimately take them to crime lord Dryden Voss's yacht, where they wish to explain away an earlier failed mission. Inside the yacht, it is revealed that Voss has a collection of artifacts, and that one of them resembles the Golden Fertility idol from the iconic opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark. According to director Ron Howard, it wasn't actually his plan to include the idol, but he chose to do so as an homage to writer Lawrence Kasdan, who also wrote the 80s classic. The scene features a myriad of indie-related artifacts, but none are displayed as prominently as the idol in the shot. Number 8, the splendor of Ornament Valley, Cars. The Cars franchise is not exactly Pixar's best offering, but it still features entertaining moments despite never reaching the heights of The Incredibles or the Toy Story movies. This may be in part due to the film's exploration of anthropomorphic vehicles lending itself to questions rather than awe, and its awkward narrative structure leading to pacing issues in its second act. That said, its visual flourishes are still up to par for Pixar's impressively high standards, and viewers would not be lacking in finding treats for the eyes. Each vehicular design is distinct and represents the character's persona in a visually appropriate manner, and the background expertly captures the Western-inspired feel of Radiator Springs. In the film, Radiator Springs is surrounded by Ornament Valley, a vast expanse with geographical features that act as the tiny town's main tourist attraction. One of the most notable features is Cadillac Range, a mountain range that resembles the hood ornaments and tail fins of Cadillac cars from the late 50s and early 60s. This mountain range is a unique visual detail that adds a layer to the automobile-heavy world of the film, and, as fans have noted, also serves as an interesting spin on the real-life Cadillac Ranch, a classic car-focused art attraction based in Texas. Number 7, finding your strong focus, Spider-Man 2. The most gripping aspect of Spider-Man 2 is the exploration of Peter Parker's hardships as he tries to navigate a normal life and that of a superhero. This personal conundrum manifests in Parker losing his abilities and hanging up the mask and tights as he tries to reconcile various aspects of his personal life. However, he quickly realizes that he needs Spider-Man as much as New York needs the web-slinging hero, and as such decides to get back into his superheroic tights. In a callback to the first film's swinging scene, Peter attempts to jump and swing from rooftop to rooftop to see if he's got his mojo back. Before taking the leap, Parker says that he needs, quote, a strong focus on what I want. And he first seems successful before ultimately plummeting and landing on a Ford Focus, which is undamaged from the landing. Get it? A strong focus? Despite its proximity to the more noteworthy my back utterances from Peter, keen fans, again on our movie details, were still able to notice the brief gag. Despite being one of of the more bewildering forms of product placement out there, the shot itself is a harmless and mildly amusing form of visual humor.
We mentioned earlier that this video is brought to you by pop culture kings Zavi, who to celebrate the release of the latest Fantastic Beasts movie, The Secrets of Dumbledore, have released an awesome new range of merchandise. From t-shirts to mugs, replica director's chairs to everything in between, Zavi's range is second to none and is the place where film, TV, video games, comic books, etc. all combine in the best way possible. Zavi have an incredible range of clothing, collectibles, artwork, steelbooks, homewares, tech, toys, and games, all officially licensed for the biggest releases. They've got amazing collections for Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, anime, all your favorite TV shows, the biggest titles from PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, plus Hasbro, Lego, which I can never get enough of, toys, and so many figures that I will devote my life to collecting. They even make their own magazine, The Lowdown, which you can read for free using the link in the description below. For now though, let's talk more about Fantastic Beasts. And you know what? Wizard me up. Wizard me up. Thank you. Because we need to do this properly. So obviously, Fantastic Beasts is the phenomenal expansion of the wizarding world first started back with Harry Potter, and Zavi have put together all sorts of essential pieces of merch you won't need Alohomora to access. One for the comments. Seriously though, the amount of intricate and impressive pieces designed around something like the Walk of the Chillin really stand out. And that's if you don't end up picking up a Chillin deck chair, sunprint side table, or teddy mug first. Anyway, use our code CULTURE and get 20% off selected clothing items and 10% off everything else, with some exclusions. Link is in the description, the movie's in the cinema, and Zavi have scores of great deals and items to pick up for Fantastic Beasts and beyond. For now though, back to the video.
Number 6. The lack of counterfeit cash, the invention of lying. Ricky Gervais's directorial cinematic debut received a mixed critical reception upon its release, but it did have a cool central concept, that being, what if lying simply didn't exist? From the film's perspective, a world without the very concept of lying features interesting possibilities, but one particularly noteworthy side effect of living in such a reality is that counterfeited goods do not exist. Though this isn't a major plot point or anything, as pointed out on Reddit, it actually subtly applies to the money that's featured in the movie, as we see protagonist Mark being handed outdated, from the perspective of the audience anyway, $100 bills. A number of viewers pointed out that the bills are outdated because anti-counterfeiting strategies would not exist in a world centered on exclusively telling the truth. The choice to use outdated bills is a clever detail then that sadly hints at a film with a lot more on its mind aside from its so-so romance tale. Number 5. Hearts All Over, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World may be a visually hyperactive film, but its frenetic presentation is actually easy to take in and doesn't feel overwhelming. If anything, the tiny but numerous visual components highlight the zany nature of the world Scott, Ramona Flowers and company actually inhabit. One remarkable example of director Edgar Wright's deft handling of visual storytelling comes early on when Scott and Ramona are on a bus discussing the latter's evil exes. There are X-shaped symbols in the background as the two have their conversation, and they later change to hearts after Scott and Ramona officially start dating and remain so until the scene ends. This detail, alongside many others, was highlighted in the film's VFX breakdown that expertly highlights the film's many moving parts and how they coalesced into a chaotic but cohesive whole. It may seem like an insignificant detail at first, but it actually serves as an adorable and intricate representation of the budding love between the pair. Number 4. The Green Goblin's Grin, Spider-Man. As mentioned previously, the Spider-Man trilogy greatly benefited from director Sam Raimi's attention to detail and visual flourishes, something that ensured that each film felt engaging to look at during quiet dramatic scenes or their bombastic action set pieces. This meticulous approach was seen in the presentation of Willem Dafoe's iconic Green Goblin. The actor and director took their time to craft the dual personalities of the villain and ensure that each side felt like distinct sides of a most unusual coin. This was seen in Norman's sometimes off-putting but still humane demeanor, as opposed to the Green Goblin's utterly deranged persona. That said, the differences were not restricted to personality traits or moral compasses, despite the personas sharing a body. As noted by numerous Reddit users over the years, Norman's front teeth get a gap in between them when he transforms into the Goblin and are quote-unquote fixed when Norman is in control. Interestingly, the Goblin's teeth are Dafoe's in real life, but the actor and creative team chose to create the difference to add a more subtle transformation to Goblin's appearance. A choice that supplements Dafoe's intimidating and frenzied style of physical acting as the villain. Incredibly, the detail was also retained for the recent Spider-Man No Way Home. Number 3. A most peculiar name, Pulp Fiction. Quentin Tarantino is well known for his lyrical, or self-indulgent depending on who you ask, approach to dialogue, but the director's attention to detail and capacity for including in-jokes and offhand gags along with it is also definitely noteworthy. However, one of the most amusing and clever details comes in Pulp Fiction's credits, where actor Robert Ruth is credited as Coffee Shop. Now, this is a reference to the coffee shop robbery where Tim Roth's Pumpkin aggressively interrupts the manager before he can complete the line, "I'm not a hero, I'm just a coffee shop." In the moment, it seems like a throwaway line in a scene focused on the violence being enacted by Pumpkin, but the credits elevates it to a sillier, literal interpretation of Ruth's now infamous line. Number 2, the worst kind of teacher, Whiplash. Damien Chazelle's feature-length debut is one of the most nail-biting cinematic experiences from the past decade. This is due to the director's ability to ratchet up tension when need be, the film's sharp editing, and of course its powerhouse performances from Miles Teller and especially a never better J.K. Simmons. The latter's performance as ruthless conductor Terrence Fletcher is one of the most gripping the actor has ever given. Fletcher's treatment of Miles Teller's Andrew is unforgivable and cruel, and his warped worldviews underline the film's commentary on what success means in a high-stakes industry. The infamous "were you rushing or were you dragging" scene is a crucial example of Fletcher's brutish nature, and to musically gifted viewers in particular served as a showcase of how far the teacher would go to get the best out of his students regardless of the risk it could pose to their well-being. In the scene, Fletcher chastises Andrew for not being on his tempo, but does not indicate why that was the case. According to Reddit user DJ Sunkid though, it turns out that the difference in Andrew's drumming was marginal at best, and that Fletcher just took the opportunity to essentially abuse the young student in his twisted attempt at building a successful artist. Not that it would be justified otherwise though, but it just shows how nitpicky this guy was getting. Number 1, the times are changing. Up. Up is one of Pixar's finest efforts and frequently ranks at or near the top of lists focused on the best animated films. Its opening scene is one of modern-day cinema's most charming yet devastating sequences and is a perfect summary of life experiences for a great number of people. Carl and Ellie's romance is endearing, relatable, and heart-wrenching as we see the effects of time on the couple as they build their lives and relationship. Following its release, fans began to analyze every scene for details about the film, and one fan noticed something profound in the tear-jerking sequence. As Carl and Ellie age, the city around them gradually changes from a small-town settlement to a bustling metropolis. Now, the town's development is expected. That's put front and center in certain stills, but the visual still in these two scenes acts as a fitting and somber backdrop to just how long Carl and Ellie's relationship has taken to grow and flourish. Simultaneously, it also serves as a visual representation of what Carl is trying to avoid, that being the urban corporate expansion and the fear of being left behind by an increasingly modernized world. The rest of the opening really drives that home, but these shots of the hill with the town subtly changing in the very background also serves to show just how inescapable this expansion was. So that's our list. Want some of you guys think down in the comments below. What did you think about these movie details, and are there any mind-blowing ones I missed off here? While you're down there as well, could you please give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh. Thanks so much for watching.